Hello, just to give you a quick rundown on these fantastic little generators. They're fantastic, except when they go wrong, and it really is down to stale fuel. The fuel, I'm going to do this cover. I'm going to show you what the fuel looks like. Really good nut drivers these are. I'll quickly whip this off. I've just pre-loosened these, by the way. I'll show you what the fuel looks like. It's that gunky brown, and that's exactly what happens. It tarnishes up everything, especially the idle jet, and that causes terrible issues with hunting and running and starting and everything. Every issue you could possibly think of really can be traced back to one of these generators. I mean, this is like new. Every issue you can possibly think about is all traced back to one thing, and that's really duff fuel. Because they're just bulletproof. They're Honda, Japanese, and made incredibly well. A lot of these were made in Thailand, and a lot were made in Japan. And to be honest with you, you probably want the ones that are made in Japan, not the Thailand ones that just came later under license, I believe. But here we go. So I'll quickly put this on. I've left a few bits and pieces up. It's not going to make much difference as long as you've got the sort of various pipes of dressing and vacuum and whatever. You should be okay. So I'm going to put this down for a second while I quickly start this. Oops. As short as possible. Basically, what you're looking for is here. This is the body of the idle jet. It comes. This part here is really the idle control screw. You should really count how many turns you take that out. I'm going to reset this up from scratch, so I didn't really count the turns, but because I know what's going on. But I'm going to set this up from scratch. But that is your idle control screw, and then that goes on top of that. So basically, with that in there, and that down that little hole there. So this little thing here, this is your idle jet, and your idle jet goes down there, and then that screw goes in that hole. So that has to be pressed down. So when you're reassembling this, good top tip, drop a little bit of lubricant on the O-ring. Otherwise these will be hellish to push down. You'll never ever get them pushed down properly, and the idle jet will float about. So what you do is you put a tiny weeny little bit of lubricant on the O-ring here, and that will allow you to push that down once you've given it a good clean. So yeah, next job, give the come on. Hard to do it with one hand. Give this a good clean. Make sure, don't try to force anything through it. Give that a good clean. Make sure there's no tarnished. And obviously that goes in position, and that goes over the top of it that way. So the jet goes down, and then you've got the idle control screw that goes down. So what you really want to do, see that jet there? That is your idle jet. You want to take off the float bowl. Try to preserve the fuel if you can, and pour it back into the engine. It's not going to make a big bit of difference. So take the float bowl off. See if there's any gunk out of it, and see if there's any gunk out of it. And then what you should do is you see a thin metal sleeve that goes from here and ends up in the bottom of the float bowl, and then that's obviously you sit next to the emulsion tube and the pickup from the main jet. So right, we'll get back to that in a second. I'll strip that down and then come back. Right, as you can see, I've just quickly whipped off the float bowl, and you can see it's just got all this tarnishing. That should be absolutely crystal clear. There's no reason for that to be gunked up like that. But that is the tarnishing. That's what you get in the fuel. That's like bits and pieces. So it is worth using a fuel stabilizer, which is of course important. So make sure you've got a fuel stabilizer there. And but yeah, this is what we're looking for. And if you look there, you can see the fuel is like a funny brown color, and that is the tarnishing, and that gives every single solitary part. If you can see that tarnishing in there, it gives every single solitary part of this carburetor a lovely little coat of gunk. It literally is a lovely little coat of this brown gunk, and it slows things down, it blocks things up. And obviously here is your this is your float, and you've got your main jet and emulsion tube up there. I'm not going to fiddle about that because it's not really a problem with running, it's merely a problem with idling. And I'll get back to you. Okay, so very quickly, I thought I'd just, for the sake of thoroughness, this is obviously the main jet, and this is the emulsion tube, which goes in. Make sure that is facing towards the bottom, that goes up towards the top. You can see there's already tarnishing, but thought I'd give it a quick check, and they seem to be okay. They're not blocked. They're pretty good, but they were worth giving a good clean. Just make sure you don't over tighten them. Obviously that part there faces down. So it's reassembled, as you can see. I mean, generally you shouldn't see this sort of brown gook in your fuel and anything to do with fuel. Reassembled. Let's turn it on. I'm going to try one-handed to start this now. it's going to have to fill up the float bowl, so it's going to take a couple of pulls. There we are. The idle was too fast, so I need to turn the idle down a bit. So back, where's the floor of these engines? The idle is in there. You can't get to it no matter what you do, even if you took this back cover off. There's no way to get to the idle jet, unfortunately. It just does not allow it. I suppose I could give it a try, but I'm pretty certain there's a lot of plastic in between here and there. Just does not allow it. If you look in there, it just, that is aligned up with there, and the idle jet is around there. So it's a bit hit and miss. So let's give it another go, see how we get on. Properly, that would be hunting like crazy. So we can honestly say that we've solved the problem with this power cleaning. Never using more done. Get them. Take it off of tortoise mode, put it onto rabbit mode. Right, for the final part, everything's back together again, we're all good. Choke wide open, as you can see, off. Let's turn this to on. And this is rated at 2 kilowatts, but it's actually, when I've put this on a meter and it only seems to ever pull about 1 kilowatt. But that's an old field radiator, it's my test radiator, and it works really quite well. So let's get it done again. Really silly. I loosened off these two screws, so we're pouring in air. My fault, silly mistake. What I've done is these two bolts are loosened off the line. There's a bolt that goes under here. So I loosened off these two and I've got to tighten them back up again. So yeah, that's operating very well, I'm afraid. Basically, we're working fine again. Just shows what a little tiny weeny air leak does, and it keeps you running very lean. So I'll get this put back together again for the third time. Shows what a little crikey. So this shows you what a little tiny weeny air leak does. So we can see that we're on full choke. Go back off the choke a bit. It's not needed, but just gives you a good idea that we're running super fine, and it's idling very nicely. So just put the fuel cap up and let's try it under test. So we're going to try the minimum first. Minimum, he says, and it hits both buttons. Happy, doesn't it? That's about 500 watts. Turn off 500. Put on a kilowatt. Do it run a bit harder. Fantastic. And now let's try 2 kilowatts now. Oh, sorry, 1500 watts. The faster it goes, the smoother it seems to run. Balance on anything on that stuff. And it's running. Remarkable. idle. So it's just one extra test. So we put it on rabbit. We'll take it off of auto throttle. And then let's price the power. This will start first time every time. As soon as you pull the starter cord, this will run first time every time. I won't talk about my little oil down situation over there. I spent a few weeks cleaning up in the garden and sadly I have an oil down situation, so that isn't so good. There we go.